So I'll start the recording now and shall hand over to Elena then.
Thank you, Gabriel. And very nice to see that there's so many of you here today participating. I'm going to share you my screen. Oh, you will see the slides. Okay, it should be there now. Do you see it? Yes. Okay, good. Greetings from Finland. For the first, I'm going to tell you about research in progress, or it's actually more research that is very in the early stages. It is about education for global citizenship. There's kind of three parts in this huge title: education for global citizenship, and then in an age of rising nationalism that I think that we are living through right now, and as a challenge for social pedagogy. And I am actually I'm going to challenge you all to think, what could we as social pedagogues, researchers in the field of social pedagogy and teachers, in whichever position we are, to think about this, challenge you to think about this issue as something that actually concerns, or I think it should concern us all. What can we do as citizenship educators in this situation that we are living in at the moment? In my presentation, I'm going to tell you about, well, a research project that is in its early stages. I've been mostly working with the theoretical framework, and all the rest is only ideas, some plans, some discussions. So no empirical research is done yet. But I'd like to introduce this idea to you so that we could discuss together how these ideas could be put into an international research project. And I'd like to challenge you or ask you if you are interested to join this research. And I think of it as a long-term process. It's not something that is happening today or tomorrow. It's like developing slowly at the moment. So it gives us all, and I think it gives you the possibility to reflect on your own ideas. What are you going to do in research in the next few years? And if you could be interested in joining this process, so that we could create like big international social pedagogical research group around this issue of global citizenship education, or education for global citizenship. So this is what I'm going to do today. So I'm using this opportunity not to present you some research results, but to try to find partners for a bigger research process that could look at this topic that I find very interesting, and I hope that I can show you some perspectives into this that might trigger your enthusiasm as well. So I'm going to present you the basic idea of this theoretical framework, and then tell you a little bit about the ideas that I have about how the research could be conducted, what kind of research settings there could be. This theoretical framework is something that I have been working on for quite long. It started in my doctoral thesis that was published already in 2008, so it's kind of something already old. My doctoral thesis was about citizenship education in the globalized world, and I had a social pedagogical framework, and I was looking especially on Spanish ideas, Spanish social pedagogical discussion around citizenship education, and I was like looking for social pedagogical ways of supporting citizenship in the globalized world. But my thesis was theoretical, so what came out of it is something that I am building on now. These theoretical cornerstones of this new project. And in my thesis, and now in this research, I'm looking at citizenship as membership. I understand it as a very broad concept. It's not something that is only taking place in nation states. It's not something only formal, but it's something much wider. Citizenship, very broadly defined, is membership in a political community. And a political community can be many different things. In the history, there's been different kinds of political communities where the membership has been called citizenship. So I think that in today's world, the political communities of citizens can be something else than the nation state. Citizenship is, well, first of all, there's 3 dimensions in this framework. Citizenship is a formal status. It's like the membership is a status that is based on legal definitions, etc. And it brings with it rights and responsibilities. And this is kind of the formal framework for this phenomenon. But citizenship is not only about this, it's also about participation. And I call it the participatory citizenship, the participatory dimension of citizenship. So citizenship is something that becomes real in our social relationships. It's active, it's social membership in the community. It's based on the rights and responsibilities. They kind of set the framework for participation. What is possible for citizens in a community? But citizenship, as this in this participatory meaning, is much more than just the rights and responsibilities. It is something that is it becomes real, it becomes alive in our communication, in our relationships, when we do things together with other members of the community. And this participatory nature of citizenship, it's something that can exist without this formal framework. You can become a member of the community, even though you don't have the formal status as a citizen. You can become a member through your own actions. Of course, these 2 dimensions are linked together because some forms of action are not allowed to you, especially in political. If we think about political rights, if you don't have the legal formal status as a citizen in a certain community, you don't have the right to vote, for example. but you have many other possibilities to participate. So, and there are in this citizenship theoretical discussion, there are many kinds of concepts referring to possibilities to act as a citizen without a formal citizenship status. But then these two dimensions of citizenship are very often discussed a lot. But then there is a third dimension that is sometimes not that much connected to this picture of citizenship, and it is what I call the sense of citizenship. So you are a member in a political community through your experiences, through your feelings. Do you have a sense of belonging in this community? It's about feelings of togetherness with other members of the community. So it's about civic identity, the identity as a member of the community. And this third dimension of citizenship is very much intertwined with the two other dimensions, but it can also exist without the two. You can have a strong sense of citizenship without a formal citizenship status, or even without possibilities to participate. But often these three are intertwined, and especially the idea that we usually have about citizenship, the idea of the citizenship of a nation state, that is something that combines these three dimensions very tightly. So this is like the basic framework. How do I understand citizenship? And I think that all these three dimensions are very, very essential in this. When we look at citizenship in like as a broad concept in different kinds of communities. But I'm stressing the second and the third dimension. And I'm asking especially what can we do to support participatory citizenship and the sense of citizenship. So I'm more concerned about the second and the third dimension than the first one. But it kind of sets some limits. It gives some possibilities. It sets the framework sometimes or often, but not always. Then about citizenship education, to put it in a brief nutshell, traditionally, especially in nation states, citizenship education is about supporting participatory citizenship and the sense of citizenship. In participatory citizenship, citizenship education is supporting, first of all, knowledge about rights and responsibilities as a citizen, supporting knowledge about the system, how is the system, how can you participate in it. Then it's about supporting skills that are needed in participation. And then what is very important is attitudes. Education, citizenship education is supporting attitudes that make citizens willing to participate, and willing to participate like the right way. And there are different kinds of ideological definitions about which is the right way to participate in this community, in this society, in this nation state. So, but these three, knowledge, skills, and attitudes, are like the traditional three cornerstones of citizenship education. But then I'd like to point out that there's also educational intentions concerning the sense of citizenship. Citizenship education is concerned with supporting feelings of togetherness. And in nation states, in these system where we live at the moment, where education, especially public education, is organized by the state, and the goals for education are set on the state level, goals for citizenship education as well. The ideas behind citizenship education have been very much connected to nationalistic ideas of what's good citizenship. That feelings, the sense of citizenship is kind of based on feelings of togetherness among citizens, which are based on the idea of some kind of sameness between the members of the community. So it's ethical, cultural, religious sameness, the idea that we are sharing the same blood inheritance, we have the same roots, so we are together here, we form the nation, we are the citizens of this nation. And in citizenship education, there's been a strong aim to create national loyalty, national solidarity. And that national education has been intertwined into citizenship education. So the civic identity that citizenship education is trying to create is kind of some form of patriotism. And many researchers looking at citizenship education are claiming, and I'm among them, that this whole idea of citizenship education has become very problematic in a globalizing world. That in nation states, the citizenship education idea, it's intertwined with national and nationalistic education. And the idea of strong citizenship is based on nationalistic, patriotic education, that we create good citizens through nationalistic education, because the idea of national community is a strong basis for feelings of togetherness and a strong basis for civic identity. But this idea is creating, or it has created, this ideal of cultural and ethnic sameness, which is a very exclusive basis for citizenship. So it's citizenship education is based on an exclusive politics of belonging. Those who look the same, who come from the same origins, those can belong into our community of citizens. But those who look different, those who sound different, those who have different ancestors, those can't belong. And this is problematic if we look at the world today, when globalization is the idea. What's happening around us? When I was doing my thesis, it was in my doctoral thesis, it was in the beginning of this century, the first years of 2000. And it was very much discussion was going around the idea of globalization, that okay, nation states are going to lose all their meaning, that nation states are losing their power to different kinds of multinational political unions, multinational corporations. Globalization is going to swipe out nation states, and that because people and goods and information and everything are so much on the move, more than ever, to societies are becoming more open, more multicultural, that nation states are losing their role as the most important players on the field, and also when we think about citizenship. But something has happened when my thesis was published. After that, something has happened, and this idea of globalization is not as strong as it was then. Back then, there was like a lot of discussion, and it's still there, but probably not as strong as in those days, 10 years ago. That, well, the nationalistic ground for citizenship education was questioned, that can we educate citizens to this nation state system? Should we instead educate citizens that are post-national, transnational, global citizens? There's discussion going on around these different concepts. How could we call the new citizenship that comes after nation states? But what has been happening during the past 10 years or so is a new rise of nationalistic ideas, maybe even the last 2 decades already. That there's been these counter voices, or these voices opposing globalization that have grown stronger. There's been more rise of racism and prejudices in public discourse. More criticism against the EU and other multinational organizations, demands for stronger national borders. Brexit is a good example of this kind of development. And now we have this COVID pandemic. It has even more boosted nationalistic demands, that we have to protect our own citizens first. We have to get all the medical equipment and everything to our citizens, and all the foreigners need to get out of our nation states, and we have reinstated national border control. So this COVID situation has made this rise of nationalism probably much stronger, or it has given it some new boost. At the moment, it's not that clear as it was like 12 years ago or 15 years ago, that globalization is going to swipe out the nation state, and that citizenship education should be globalized and not nationalized. And there is a renaissance of old nationalistic ideas in citizenship education in many countries, and ideas that nation states should be given their old strong place in the world system, and citizens should be connected tighter to their own nation states. But I am asking, as a social pedagogue, that is this, like going back to the nationalistic ideas, is that the right path? What about human rights? What about equity? What about global solidarity? Is that the only path that we can take with citizenship education? Go back to the nationalistic ideas, or is there something else that we could do? And if we try to do something else, how can we support the feelings of citizenship, the sense of citizenship in the global world? How can we support belonging without resorting to nationalism? If we think that citizenship is membership in a community of citizens, So how can we support the sense of belonging in a global community of citizens that does not even exist formally? There is no global community of citizens where you can have a legal formal status as a citizen. How can we educate global citizens who have a strong sense of belonging? And this is a question that has been troubling me for some time. And I'm asking, what could social pedagogy and social pedagogues as citizenship educators do in this situation when this like power balance between nationalism and globalization is like changing? And because there wasn't even when the idea of globalization was stronger and nationalism was kind of like put down, there wasn't very clear ideas how can we educate global citizens. What is the basis for global citizenship, and especially in this third dimension of citizenship, this sense of citizenship. How can we support the sense of citizenship in a global community of citizens? And this is where my research is like trying to find answers, or this research that I'd like to start developing with some of you who might be interested. I have drafted some research questions. The big question is, how can the sense of global citizenship be created and supported? And then this can be there are several smaller questions through which we could try to find answers to this big question. First of all, what would be, or what is, or is there, what could be a social pedagogical idea or ideal of global citizenship? Is there something that social pedagogy could give us, or social pedagogical theories, social pedagogical traditions could give us, so that we could understand global citizenship? Because there are many kinds of definitions for global citizenship in the citizenship discussions. It can be understood as responsible consumer, or someone who is traveling and seeing the world can be understood as a global citizen. But I think that when we start from the social pedagogical traditions, then it comes closer to questions of human rights and global solidarity, etc. But what is or can we find the social pedagogical idea of global citizenship? And then I think it would be interesting and important to make research on what's happening in the field of citizenship education. So what kind of nationalistic and global ideas and ideals of citizenship can be identified in education? I'm interested especially in schools, what's happening in schools. And it would be great to be able to look at different countries. And then what kind of grounds, what kind of methods for supporting the sense of belonging can be identified in education, in schools? And why schools? Because school is the one biggest singular institution of citizenship education. So schools are, because the curriculum, etc., are defined on national level, then looking at schools would be very meaningful. And the third or the fourth question is that how could social pedagogical education for global citizenship support the sense of citizenship? So trying to find through social pedagogy, through the social pedagogical tradition, through way of working, trying to find the tools, the basis for citizenship education from this social pedagogical tradition. So kind of two parts to try to understand what is actually happening in the schools in the area of citizenship education, and then what could we do with social pedagogy in order to support global citizenship through citizenship education. And then there could be a bunch of different research methods. So this is just a list to give you ideas what it could be. It could be curriculum analysis, textbook analysis about what these are forms of finding out what's happening in the schools at the moment. Is it nationalistic? Is it global citizenship? Or what is it that's happening? What kind of citizenship education is happening in our schools? Then it can be interviews with teachers, with students, with policymakers. It can be classroom ethnography, and especially in the fourth research question, if we are starting to find out what kind of ways can we create to support global citizenship education through social pedagogy, then participatory action research could be one possibility, etc. So this is just, well, it could be almost anything considering research methods. And then what I'm doing now, I'm looking for partners who would like to start to put these ideas together and bring new ideas and start to like draft a research plan. And then and I think it, as I mentioned in the beginning, a longer term process, not something that will happen now or that will start like right away. But if you are busy right now, you can think, but I could be interested in this in 2 years time from now or something. Then let me know, because I'd like to create a research group that can work like in more loosely or more tightly together, whatever we want, and probably start finding out how to get some funding for this kind of research, etc. Yeah. So I would very much like to hear your thoughts about this, and your questions and comments. And if you are at all interested, please send me an email or contact me some way. But yeah, that's it. Thank you.